let's go ahead and finish up here with relativism versus absolutism. Relativism versus absolutism. So relativism, which it's interesting, and then like 1990s, early 2000s, the kind of Christian right accused the left and kind of more politically liberal side of being relativists. Well, they're not relativists now. They are ethical absolutists, that if you don't accept every aspect of my worldview, you are the equivalent of a Nazi. You are a racist. You are, fill in your epithet here, your, sign language, something, insults, guilt, the need to be right. There's a bunch of, I forgot what the S is. I heard that acronym once. But anyway, it'll come to me. But relativism claims that there are no absolutes. So it tries to get away from absolute claims. There is no absolute truth. That's its proposition. That truth claims are invalid. So when anybody tries to say something is true, like the Bible or anything else, they say, well, that's just relative. That's your culture. That's your this or that. You're just relative to other people in the world and your time in history. That's why you believe that's right and wrong, and that's okay for you. However, it may not be for somebody else, right? That's just the, kind of, again, that element of not just intellectual, but ethical choice. You can kind of decide what's right or wrong. And so relativism is the kind of philosophy that there is no right and wrong. It's you just figure it out. There's no standard absolutely and objectively of what is true and what is not. But relativism is a fairly simple worldview to deal with, to show that it's self-defeating. Because relativism, by definition, engages in what's called question begging, which means they assume what they're trying to prove, or they undermine themselves. Relativism makes the truth claim that there are no truth claims that are valid. Relativism wants you to accept its position of truthfulness and authority only to say there is no truthfulness, there is no authority. So if relativism is true, we shouldn't accept it. We shouldn't listen to it. And if relativism isn't true, then we should reject it. But it's a self-defeating worldview either way. But here, another blank here, that ethics should not simply be a matter of preference. And a lot of unbelievers acknowledge that. Inconsistently, but they'll be relativists for a while, but when they see something that they believe to be wrong, they will cease being relativists and want to call that out as sin, bad, evil. And we should be...
the guy who just got convicted, the Boston bomber, right? People who don't believe in the death penalty, but for this guy, it's a special case.
Right. So it's, that people like to, and we did this too as unbelievers, and we have a temptation to do this even as believers. People like to switch between ethical relativism and ethical absolutism. But the way we do that, and this is where Jesus talks about, in context, that do not judge lest you be judged, because by your standard of measure, it will be measured to you. So Jesus is not disavowing all types of use of judgment and understanding according to God's word consistently and non-hypocritically. But he's recognizing there that the standard that we apply to others, we like to be ethical absolutists, but when accountability is brought to us, we like to make everything relative, variable, extreme, and that we're a special case, right? And the world's pretty complicated there, but that's how we go with that. But we admit that ethics is not a matter of preference, and we should be happy when unbelievers acknowledge that as well.